Good evening, good evening. I figured we'll play one game of Rapid before bedtime. 2100 versus 2100 level player. Both of us vying for that sacred 2200, which I know I'll get there at some point, but has he busted me on this opening or what? I don't know what's going on exactly. But I guess we're just. I think I'm playing a book opening, but it's not an easy one to play. I have to quite consider this move. What's the right one here? Maybe I have to take it. Now I have to handle the check pressure, but there is this check which is pretty sneaky, but not dangerous enough to worry about. Queen here is not possible. And I will have some kind of counterplay with bishop check, knight here, possibly. Some ideas starting to form. We have to have a counter attack. You see, black has been hitting hard. Even though I'm white and I have the initiative, the first move, black has been the one who's kind of on the attack here. And in principle, if I've played the correct moves until this point, then I ought to have the right for a counterpunch. Excuse me, I'm in this game too, okay? You're not just having your attacking fun. A lot of people I've noticed, they start out playing all aggressive, bark, 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 barking like a dog, attacking, attacking, attacking. And you handle all the storms, you handle all the punches, but you play right principle chess, and then when the tables are about to turn, you know what they do? Resign. Fuck you, man. That's the bullshit that these people do, which makes the game bad for everyone. Anyway, now comes the big question. Do we even dare to play a move like this? Do we go bishop out first? Bishop out first makes the most sense, actually. From my perspective, this has the most sense. Even if it allows a trade of queens, I think it's a favorable trade. King ends up in a pretty decent square. Rooks flow out nicely. The pressure on the king is still maximized. The possibility of tactics is high, although not concrete in a sense that there's no winning edge necessarily. Munho's 90 from Brazil is probably from 1990. Seems like an old enough fella. Played the wise move first off, actually, just handling the pin. Big question as to whether we allow this combination. Knight check. I don't know, the rook ends up being a bit misplaced here, I'd say. The rook here doesn't really have much squares to go, or am I misreading it? Uh, what if I push the pawn forward? That's also risky, actually. Gives me a passed pawn, but well, it might be the only real way to play this. Maybe try to push that pawn up and hold the pawn with the bishop here to have a very powerful sort of bind there. Just go for that. Basically, yeah. I think this move, I grant I took a lot of time to play that move, but I think it was the right one in retrospect, and probably worth the time in the match situation, because still have plenty of time left. Um, yeah, key point is that we wanna. I think this works out because we have intermezzo check, so we've created a kind of isolated pawn setup, which is nice for us. Mm, Knight out here is threatening to capture, or threatening to jump in there anyway. Now I need to consider the next move carefully. I'll go with rook here. I think the open file is important, also guards against many squares for the knight. If he attacks here, I'll guard this. If he pressures down here, and I have to consider, do I want to go for the trade of material? It's an even position, but he has 2-1 on the queen side, which is not ideal. I still somehow feel like I should keep pieces on the board. I think his bishop is a bit blunted relative to mine. I should try to capitalize on that. His knight is also a bit offside, very offside, one could say, but nothing drastic. So it's going to be a bit of a cat and mouse game here. 4 minutes versus 6 minutes, and a fairly balanced position. Fairly balanced. It's imbalanced in the pawn dynamics, 4-3 versus 2-1. But the king is very centralized, so any imbalances should be sufficiently well handled, in theory. What if we do a move like this? I should have maybe thought about this a little bit longer than I did, but I'm just trying to play quick enough. Do we allow that check, which forces a capture? Let's do something a bit wide. Let's invite this check, in fact. It's a very tempting move. And if he does it, he'll be inviting this in payback eventually. Or at least that would be my plan. So I'm tempting him to go for the other check. And I've gone here instead of here because I didn't want his knight to come in with check, forcing a dilution that allows his tempo to continue because he's putting the pressure. I want to have time to take that pawn after this knight moves away. So I don't want him to be able to get out with check and attack follow up. A bit too much. Three minutes versus 5 minutes. We're going to have to play at a decent enough clip here. Try to make sure that we have at least. Okay. Just playing a filler move. Maybe our knight needs to reposition here. Think you've got to go for it then. So he'll get the bishop for knight trade, but I think we have such good pressure on this that it might compensate, but I think he'll manage it because of bishop back, which is very shrewd. And should we force a passive position? Is this forcing a passive position? Is this good for me? Seems fairly decent. I mean, I seem to be the one pressing. He got there actually. That's a fairly good square. Okay, let's not waste time on these relatively unimportant moves. See, here is where you switch gears. Now I realize there's still only 2.5 minutes left. He's got 3.5 minutes left. Don't waste time on moves that are not hugely consequential. The main consequential moves here are the ones which involves piece trades or tactics, things like that. But if it's not involving a piece trade, if it's just a run-of-the-mill move, you can see our opponent is fairly comfortable with keeping pieces on the board. He, I would say he enjoys complexity. And that's good. It's a good style of chess. And it's a confident ability of chess. And he has more time on the clock than I do. But I have to say I highly doubt if he's got the kind of blitz capability as I do. Don't want to get carried away though. I do have to acknowledge he has something going for him here, and I'm not so happy with him having a control of an open file. I don't feel like my rook is going to do much in the game, and I'm kind of happy to dilute the position to one which is a bit easier to manage, I think. I think a bit easier to manage. We'll start to put some pressure from here. I should have maybe checked, followed it up with the bishop check. I think this check is. I have to do this check while I still can. Shit, that's a missed trick actually, because this check allows my bishop to come in with sacrificial threat pressure, which is important in this deep pawn strategy that I'm going for. And now the time equation is also balanced, so I think Munho's 90. He doesn't have a good bullet or blitz. In fact, it's kind of horrible bullet and blitz. I think we're going to see him crack under the pressure here. What do you guys think? Do you think he's got any fight left in him? Or is he just going to clock out like a wuss? I mean, come on. There's no increment. FYI. Okay. So we'll take the check, which I told you was a key part of the long-term strategy. So I know I'm going to play that move no matter what. Now I just have to see if I want to allow this or what do I want to do. Take here, he takes it with the king. And it's basically a one position, right? It's got to be a winning position. If I do this, then it's a winning position, but he does have this sight on the bishop. Let's try to calculate it. All right. My theory is that this pawn race here is too slow relative to this one here, with the bishop sack potentially coming. Although I'll have to deal with two pawn storms potentially. Okay, he's going for a solid style strategy, but I think we'll still continue with this approach, which is offering an uh, uh, he's handled it well. We have to acknowledge now that it's going to be a time game. There's just no two ways about it. The game is going to be decided on clock. Oh, he blundered big there. That's a huge blunder in the context of the game. And that is going to be proving decisive here, I'm afraid. It's a funny game. Chess is a funny game. But let's not get carried away here. He's going to have some counterplay, so let's not get carried away here. Okay, I got a bit carried away there. I'm going to bring the king in for a late defense. I think that's the most easy plan to execute. Bishop still got his eye on the prize, so it's fairly logical. And now we can just be a bit patient, even cut his eye off. Yeah. All right, good game there. I all right. I'll accept a rematch, man. just because I'm feeling generous in spirit. Nothing else, nothing more. This is not about revenge or about justice. I feel it's right to offer a man a chance for a rematch. Sometimes. So Black is playing a kind of more watchful strategy, I would say. Um, yeah, not clear whether it should take it with the knight or the pawn, but I'm gonna say pawn. Get the bishop here. Not needed now. Not needed now. Maybe get the bishop here. I don't know. Seeing something is better than nothing. We do potentially want to liberate this knight. Okay, he got his eye off there. Threatening to potentially double. What if we sink in here? This could be interesting. If we sink it in, the rooks are connected, so we don't have to worry about the back rank. Patient move. Hmm. So this knight is really poorly placed and would probably love a chance to come back in the game from somewhere here. Probably will. What do we want to do? I mean, this whole attack here seems a bit far-fetched, right? But then again, what else to do? Knight here, knight here. Threatening knight there with knight here. I think we've got to go with this knight. This knight's doing a defensive duty as well. I have to remember that. We're in a very interesting phase of the game here. Um, very interesting strategic battle. I can't say with certainty who is winning or losing. I would say it's quite on a knife's edge. Maybe Black has some good outposts and stuff going, so uh, maybe a small edge, but not much. And it's very vulnerable, it can flip on its head. We've had a position simplification, and the knight comes in here, which is obviously a very scary position from the back rank point of view, but it's handled for now. The thing is, we can't push this because of this kind of new idea, possibly. What if we just ignore that? Ignore this knight too? This knight could probably also want to come here. So maybe we gotta go with this knight out first. And now it creates some mania, some potential mania. I don't know. This one is pretty well secure actually. He's not easy to dislodge and he's doing a good defensive job too. So we need a new angle in, and I guess this rook's got to be the guy. He's got to be the guy. See, that's how you try to figure out what to do next. You know you can't really do much. Got to get the guy who's not working, put him to work somehow. Okay, this is a reasonable push for justice from him, but we're gonna hold this because we are anyway holding the knight. And now I can deliberate, do I want to go for something or do I want to play rook all the way back? Here, then he will have this kind of a pushback move, but it falls. Comes at a price. So, yeah, very evenly poised position, I would say, relatively. And difficult to play for black, especially. I think it's hard for me to play it because I'm holding on to more shit which is extended. I'm still ruining that, and maybe I should have tried to trade the rooks while I still could have. I don't know if I like this outcome. Maybe I go here and just ignore that knight altogether. Or allow him to lure me in really deep. I don't know if he's got a mate. I don't think he does. I'm not gonna bite. This guy's a bit tricky. We gotta give him some credit. See, here is where I would say you need a little bit of practical wisdom sometimes in knowing when not to go for something that's possibly a bit fishy, you know, like getting led up all the way the board here, and there could be some tricks, and you don't want to get into that kind of time pressure, especially under time pressure. You don't want to get into that situation. I think you want to take a chance to put some pressure on something here. This makes sense to me. I want to try to get the bishop into this diagonal. I think this is a soft diagonal in white's position, and my dark squared bishop is my prime piece in many a way, and it ought to have a chance to get to this diagonal, because this is a superior diagonal where my rooks can collaborate and start controlling down from the diagonal and the full file here. So that's part of the deep strategy going on here. And this move is trying to secure an outpost. Whoop-de-doo, bro, whoop-de-doo. No, there is some softening of this pawn. We have to keep that in mind. But we're tactically good right now because the rook is pinned. So now is a tactically massive position in the game. Massive position. I got 4 minutes left. Let me try to think of something good. Yeah, I thought there was something fishy and I was right. You have to smell the tactical situation. You have to smell it and then just do your regular solve it like it's just a tactics puzzle and you'll be all right. You'll solve it. Do we have anything special we can capture? Maybe just this. So I guess that should be pretty much a done deal now in the game. Very hard for White to mount a comeback here, but he's definitely going to try. And we don't mind that. We admire that. We admire that. We only have 3 minutes left, so we've given him a little bit of a sniff due to the clock, but we should be able to handle it. It's enough time and such a huge material balance that, yeah, we could even sacrifice a piece or two if we wanted to be extra naughty. I think Bishop here is super powerful, so we're going to keep him there. This makes a lot of sense, and he wants to dilute attention naturally, but we'll keep some pressure going. We'll keep some pressure going. Let's just see what happens. Okay, let's trade. Let's trade. What's next? What's next? Let's go knight here. Let's try to get knight to an interesting. Okay, let's. He's mounting some decent counter punch here, actually. It's a decent counter punch. Decent looking counter punch, anyway. There's nothing real to it, so it's not something to get too bothered about, I would say. But there is something. And yeah, we got to give him credit for keeping the game kind of tactical, kind of like complicated looking. Knights are always very complicated pieces, and that's what we love about them. It's what we hate about them. Right now, I still think I have enough time to play a good quality game, so that's what I'm focusing on doing. Trying to just not concede material unless absolutely necessary. Try to go for something now. I think he's done well though in the position. He knows he has a time advantage and he has every intention of trying to win. So he's a very competitive player. No problem in that. Brazilian, right? So obviously, the land of football, chess is just like football. It's very competitive. Very competitive. So this rook check comes in with pretty good tempo, I feel, because he can't block with the knight due to the pawn push. But this comes in, it's rather aggressive looking. I like it, and I'll. Okay, let's just. Oh shit! Did I blunder? Did I blunder? No, I definitely blundered, but I don't think he took advantage of it. I think he could have just rook here, honestly. I think he could have just done rook there. Anyway, he's given up mentally. This is just too much. But he's playing well, man. Actually, he got me out of that shit. Thought I had him busted there like anything. Okay, he's holding on. He's really holding on. He might try to come from this side here. Let's try to just block every avenue. Or he tried to come from this side here. Fuck. Okay. Uh, fuck, I don't know what to do. I gotta play fast. That much I know. And I've got to start muscling these pawns ahead already. Maybe I should have gone rook here and just allowed him to take the knight and win that pawn. That pawn is the key to his game. I mean, if I take that pawn for his knight, for my knight, it's already a game over, and it's an easy win. I don't know why I'm complicating it actually. So we're just gonna take it, keep it boring and simple and easy to handle. Get his rook passive, get our king active. Uh, okay, it's a good move. We're just gonna go with the full pressure here, not worry about this stuff, it's too slow. Um, it should be too slow. This is a key move. King here to just shoulder off that king, and probably muscle these pawns forward is better. Okay, I only got 18 seconds. Shit, gotta play fast, gotta play fast, gotta play fast. shit. I have to sacrifice bingo for the draw on clock. What a game, what a game. What a game, what a game, what a game. I should have won that, but he played well on the clock, so hey, we all gotta survive one way or another, right? So good, here's to good survival skills. Cheers.